Hi, this is Donna from Simple Retirement Living, and I was watching a live chat on YouTube the other night, and I mentioned that I knit, and someone suggested that I knit and talk at the same time, and I go, and I might give that a try. So I'm going to give it a try, and we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to talk very long, collecting all my stuff here. I'm going to try knitting and talking at the same time. And the other day I mentioned the the blanket I was making for my grandson who just started college. And I thought I would try to sit and knit and see what happens here. I'm not going to make this very long because it's going to be a test run. So, for all of you knitters out there, this is called the Northeasterly. If you look for it on Ravelry or Pinterest, you will be able to find the pattern. And this pattern is a paid pattern, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it, except to say it's kind of a scrappy blanket, and you can make the stripes as, well, each one of these sections, I call it a stripe, but you can make the stripe as long or short as you want. Some people, they knit a few colors and then they stop and they knit a few more colors and they make it random. But I'm not making mine random. My grandson wanted these three colors. This is really red. It looks kind of rusty here. It's red, gray, and white, which are kind of his college colors. So I have a set number of ridges to make it kind of a pattern. And then I just kind of made this part up by myself. So the three colors are on a diagonal. I'm not quite sure what you call it, but that's what I'm doing. And what else? You can make this pattern with any kind of yarn that you want. There's all different types of yarn. Let me see if I can find something here. Hang on here. This is another little project I'm working on. It's a it is another scrappy blanket, but this is sock yarn, fingering weight yarn. Whereas the yarn for my grandson's blanket is called worsted weight yarn. So you can tell that one yarn is a lot thicker than the other. And this little blanket, this is the size needle I'm using. And I'm halfway between a row. And this is the size of needle I'm making for the blanket. So that is a real quick overview of different kinds of yarn. I'm going to put this down here. And let's see here. For some of you that know a little bit about knitting, this pattern is all knitting. There's two types of stitches. There's knitting and purl. And this pattern does not use, double checking here, this pattern does not use a purl stitch. So it's kind of easy to knit. So you just knit back and forth. There is a bit of a pattern to it. Let me knit to the end here. I won't be telling too many secrets. But in a lot of patterns, you slip the first stitch. I'm not sure how this is going to work. You slip the first stitch, and then that kind of makes a nice ridge on the edge. And there's a reason for that. And then I'm going to do, the special little stitch here. And then I'm going to knit a few stitches till I get to the middle. And on the edge here, I slipped a stitch and then I kind of knit 2 stitches together. There's 2 different ways to do it, and I'm not going to tell you what I did because it's part of the pattern. So you knit a few stitches, and then there's a little piece of part of a stitch between this stitch and this stitch. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pick up a stitch. I'm going to do that real quick. It takes a second to do it. And then I'm going to knit a plain stitch, and then I'm going to go to the other side of the stitch and pick up a little gap there. And this one's harder to do. It's more fiddly. I didn't quite get it. Excuse the slowness of the knitting. It is not working very well. Sometimes there we go. Sometimes it slips real well and sometimes it doesn't. So anyways, I'm decreasing a stitch here and then I'm increasing a stitch here, and it's kind of making this look like an arrow stitch, like an arrow going up. The longer you knit, the more defined it gets. So I'm going to decrease a stitch here, increase one, knit a stitch, increase another stitch, and when I get to the end, I'm going to decrease 2 stitches again. So that's the pattern. It's not real hard, but you do have to concentrate a little bit to remember to increase in the middle and decrease at the end. And that's my pattern. And I'm not sure how long I'm going to talk. So I just finished the row. And while I'm sitting here, this is a little shawl that I made several years ago. And I decided to wear this to church this morning because when I got up, it was 56 degrees out, and in August, 56 seems awfully cold. Now in February, we'll say it's a heat wave. And sometimes my shoulders get kind of cold in church. So I decided to wear this, and then I couldn't find it. I was telling my son, we go to the same church. I was telling my son, I think the devil was trying to keep me from going to church this morning. Had a bit of a chuckle out of that. I find knitting relaxing. I've often joked over the years, you can't knit and have a bad thought at the same time. There's just something about the rhythm of knitting. It's calming and peaceful for me. And as I've gotten a little older, I've gotten a little more creative. I keep a stack of stuff by my love seat here, but I put it away. But I have another blanket kind of like this, but I've got all different colors, and I put it away because I wanted to finish this. So knitting is one of my favorite hobbies. I think I mentioned earlier, I've been knitting since I was 10 years old. And I remember I was trying to think about what I knit first. And I think the first thing I knitted back in the day was a pair of slippers. And I gave them to my grandmother for Christmas. And I don't think I knitted for a few years after that, but sometime when I entered high school, about those years, I picked it up again and became a more serious knitter. And I've never quit knitting. Now sometimes I'll take a year or two break when life was tough, when I was working, raising kids, and went back to school. I didn't have time to knit. But now I'm retired. Kids are grown. I have all the time in the world. And unfortunately, sometimes I knit so much my hands ache. That's the perils of growing old, I guess. I've gotten into some really bad habits knitting, and I spent part of this summer trying to hold my yarn differently, blah, 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 so I could be a faster knitter. And I decided knitting is a pastime of mine, and I'm just going to knit the way I've been knitting for a really long time. And that's good enough. One thing I was going to talk about is I saw an article on the internet here a couple weeks ago, and it was talking about 7 habits. I don't think they really call it a habit. 7 practices to keep your mind sharp in your 70s and above. And one of them was learning a new skill and doing it for at least 90 days. And it's supposed to sparkle those whatevers in your brain and keep your brain engaged. So, knitting can be easy or complicated. And I'm always learning new things knitting. When you pick up a new pattern, you have to read the instructions and follow them. And there's a bit of a learning curve. Some patterns are easier than others. There's only a knit stitch and a purl stitch, but there's many combinations that people have come up with to make intricate patterns. And, actually my little scarf here, it's kind of got an intricate pattern. But once you learn it, I think there's only 4 rows and then it repeats time and time again. And you do have to pay attention to what you're doing. So knitting isn't just knit and purl. There's all kinds of patterns to it. And I just enjoy doing this. If I'm riding with a friend, sometimes I have a girlfriend, we've taken road trips, and I'll sit and knit. She drives and I knit and talk. Who can beat that? You know, you don't have to do all the work and you can sit and talk and knit. I give her gas money because she does all the driving. What else? You can't really see me knitting. When I was setting up cameras, actually, I have my laptop on a chair with a couple books so it's raised up higher. And what I'd like to do is have the camera come over my back so you can watch me knit. And I may do that. And if I could figure it out, I guess you can do a picture in a picture. And I could have a little picture of me in the corner talking. And then the other picture showing me knitting as if you're looking over my shoulder. I'm going to have to get creative with that one. I have a cell phone and I have my laptop. So if I could rig my cell phone to look over my shoulder, and that way you could see me knitting from as if I'm knitting the way I see it. And then I could talk. Or I thought about sitting at my kitchen table and putting the camera on the table to show my knitting, but then you don't see me talking. So there's all kinds of ways to do this. And I think I'm going to end it here. I have to count here a little bit. And I'm going to see what the picture looks like. If it's no good, you'll never see this. And if you see this, I hope you have a good rest of the day. Bye.